Welcome to Talk Dirt to Me, where two farmers shatter myths and take on the top issues facing America's farmers. Here's your hosts, Logan and Bobby Lee.
All right, it's go time.
It is go time.
Man.
G-double-O.
Yeah, Bobby Lee was pulling a Lloyd Christmas on me out here when we got in here. He had on this double gloves, man. He's, like, yeah, we're in the Rockies. I said that joking with him.
I got an extra pair.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we're in the Rockies. I said that to Bobby Lee joking. He said, I actually do have two pair of gloves on.
Yeah, well, I got my...
So do you purposely get oversized Plainsmans for that reason?
I don't remember if I bought these purposely oversized or if I got them. They were just way too big. But then I just put a pair of cotton gloves inside them. And
I just thought they were like really big insulated gloves.
No, they're just plain leather gloves with some little, like, almost like roping gloves.
Yeah.
On the inside.
I don't know. They're probably not made in USA, are they? Plainsman?
I don't think so.
I like the Plainsman gloves, though. I got several pair of those.
I wear my Geyers is kind of my go-to made in USA leather gloves. It hadn't really been cold enough to wear these thick ones, but as I was heading out of the house, had my drink in my hand, and it's a little cold. I was like, oh, I'll put on my gloves.
Yeah, I do like the Plainsman. They're thin. I like that. You can maneuver with them really well. I like that.
Until you put some cotton gloves inside.
Yeah, you kind of do ruin the maneuverability with that.
Your dexterity goes to hell when you do that. But,
what are you drinking?
The Jefferson's Ocean.
Okay.
Yep. What about you?
Elijah Craig.
Elijah Craig.
Yeah, Elijah Craig. Tell you a funny story on this real quick. So last week we did I can't say every year, but the last 2 years now, we've started a tradition. When we finish harvest, we do a dinner for our harvest crew, is what we call it, like the harvest crew dinner. We invite all the guys, like our truck drivers and buggy operators and everything, to come and join us, and we have a big dinner, and we do it over at the farm store.
What'd y'all cook?
We fried catfish this year.
Fried catfish.
Yep, catfish, hush puppies, fries, and man, it was good. It was good.
Some U.S. farm-raised catfish.
Yeah, right out of Mississippi.
Nothing wrong with that?
Nope. Well, they were very good. I wish I could remember the name of them, but they were out of Mississippi. It was not Pride of the Pond. It was, I can't remember. I think maybe something Delta. I don't remember. Anyways, Mr. Robert, he's a trip. He's 82 years old. Well, he came and he brought...
Still drives a truck, drives a tractor. He kind of...
Yeah, he's a jack of all trades.
Anything, yeah.
He can. Well, we were like, man, you got to come. So he came, him and his wife, and she went on in, and he got out. He had a styrofoam cup. He said, hey, I brought me some stuff I was going to drink while I'm here, if that's all right. And I said, well, hell yeah, that's all right. I said, I had bought some vodka and 2 different bourbons, and I had in there. And I said, yeah, we got drink inside. And he goes, oh, man, I'll get too tuned up if I have too much. And I said, well, you got to go get you some of that. Try some of that Elijah Craig in there. He was like, all right, when I finish drinking this, I will. So he finished that. And me and Dad are out there frying the fish. He comes back out and he said, all right, I got some of that to try. And I said, you get the Elijah Craig? Well, no, I got the Devil's Cut. And I said, no, finish that. I said, you got to get some of that Elijah Craig. And he was like, oh man, I can't drink that much. And I said, yeah, you got to try that Elijah Craig.
You're a bad influence.
Dude, I am, because we finished cooking. We got the food in there, and he's like, all right, I got some of that Elijah Craig. I'm trying it out. And he was 3 sheets to the wind. Like, he'd go up and get his food. And actually, when he fixed his plate the first time, he just dropped it. And Marcy had to like clean up his food. But he would get to his chair and he would just collapse into the chair. And he was talkative, and that's what Brad that was there. He was like, damn, Robert, he's tore up, man. Shit. I said, well, it's largely my fault.
Well, so I think the moral of the story here is, I don't know at what age you're no longer susceptible to peer pressure, but it's sometime after 82.
I was going to say, it is not 82 or 80. He's 82 or 83. And it is not at that age.
Sometime after that. Yeah.
Yep. And, he was a trip, but yeah, we had a good dinner, man. I look forward to that every year. So,
well, good deal.
I guess before we get in too deep.
Yeah. You know what else we look forward to?
Them Ag Zaga deals.
Yeah. Doing that Christmas shopping, which y'all need to be checking out the website. Checking out all the Christmas specials and whatnot they got. But, of course, everything's on sale with that discount code, Talk Dirt, all caps, all one word. Of course, we had a great conversation with Anthony last week. I really enjoyed that. And he had said December 16th. So if you're listening to this when it drops, it'll be on the 13th. You're going to still have a few days. And he said even after the 16th, 17th, 18th, you may still be able to get stuff in time for Christmas, but they'll guarantee it as long as you order by the 16th.
Yeah.
Which I guess that'd be what? Monday.
I was going to say Monday.
Yeah. Because we got Friday the 13th and then.
Yes.
So Monday will be the 16th. So yeah, y'all get on there, do your shopping, do the toy bundles. And hey, it's not too early to be stocking up on just supplies and whatnot. Get you ready for winter or next year's hay season. They're running all the specials on the net wrap and whatnot too.
Yeah. I had a couple people message talking about how much they enjoyed that episode.
Well, and actually, I'll give a shout out. Our buddy Jay, local guy, he sent me a picture today. He had his Zag box. Said, I used the discount code. I said, hell yeah, brother. Keep on going.
That's what we like, man. Like I say, guys, you're supporting an awesome company and you're helping us out. It shows other companies that we are actually a pretty valuable asset. Yeah. Whenever you use them, and that helps us grow the show. So do that. Get what you can from them, and yeah. So also leave us ratings and reviews. I haven't looked in a little while, but we were steadily ticking up the charts. So keep on doing them ratings and reviews. Leave us some comments and likes on YouTube, and we appreciate that. I guess I need to tell about the adventure that I've been on. Yeah, you were just telling me a little bit about it. And I was like, good Lord, I had no idea. I was sitting next to Steve McBee. Yeah, insurance fraud. That's what he's talking about. I filed a massive insurance fraud.
Yeah, Logan was meeting with the FBI yesterday. No.
That's right. Right. No, yeah, man, I felt like a celebrity yesterday. So we got a new competition in the seed world in town.
Yeah. So how did it all come about?
So Beck's seed. I've never grown anything. I've never used any of it. Our buddy Aaron Winger that we had on the show, he's a Beck's dealer, and he has sent me like their books and stuff before, kind of telling me a little bit about them. But there was really nobody around here dealing Becks. There was, I think, a couple of guys might have gotten some somewhere, but there really was not like a dealer. And so one of our local guys around here that him and another guy have kind of branched off on their own. They are now Beck's dealers. And man, I didn't know anything about Beck's besides that I had always heard that they were full of shit on the rewards thing. Have you ever heard of their reward stuff?
I mean, no, I'm not surprised. I think just about all those companies they do it in the veterinary world and everything else. Like, you spend a certain amount, you get rebates or some kind of,
Yes,
get a free hat,
Yeah, except theirs goes to the point of like you get like Tempty hopper bottoms, and you can get Case H, like a 315 Magnum tractor, and
oh wow,
like it gets like big. And you can.
I imagine you got to plant more than like 100 acres. Of corn
you're pretty big time. You're pretty big, but I would say a guy that works probably 3,000 acres probably works enough to like qualify for some of the big stuff. But, I've learned a lot because all I've ever heard about them was from their competitors.
Right. So naturally they're going
to be a little biased, and again, our buddy Aaron, like he really likes them. I mean, he's a dealer for them and he likes their seed. The big thing we got to see, they're pretty new in our area. They're out of Atlanta, Indiana is where they're at. And they're very established there. They're in Iowa, Illinois, kind of all around there. But, I mean, we got to have beans specifically for our area, or corn. So that's where we just got to see what they can do. But as far as the rewards thing goes, I've always heard, well, you pay for it. You're going to pay for it on the front end. And, man, they've shown us prices and.
Yeah, well, and that's the way, it's the same way like in our world, like buying stuff. You kind of, we always think it's funny, like when we put in a vaccine order, it's like, well, if you spend this much money on vaccines, you'll get this rebate or whatever. I'm like, well, why don't you just make the vaccine cheaper to begin with?
Yeah.
What does it matter? It's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. But yeah.
Yeah.
They obviously got to be making pretty good money on you if they're going to then give you a hopper bottom.
Yeah, and seeing that's where, because they broke down the It's really, I've been honestly very impressed. So our dealer around here, he got several of us together, and they had some Beck's crew come down and talk to all of us, and they were like, man, we have all these, I mean, dude, what they got is crazy. Beck's is the third largest seed dealer in the country, and they're still family owned.
Yep.
Which is really cool to me. Like that's
a big deal. Yeah.
It is, and it will remain because they put it in a dynasty trust. So for 100 years, it can't.
But they won't sell.
Yeah, they won't sell. And Sonny, so, I won't skip ahead here because it was neat, man. It was really neat yesterday. So, let's see, where was it going? They were like, we got these jets that will fly out and we'll pick up the farmers and we'll bring you to Atlanta and give you a tour of the facility and all this stuff, show you what we do, what we're about. And I said, man, hell yeah, I want to definitely do that. I said, that sounds awesome. And so they scheduled it yesterday. Man, we went to Millington Airport. I walked in. I had knives in both pockets. Hell, I could have carried a gun if I wanted to.
Yeah, because it's private. So
it's private.
Yeah, you can fly however you want to.
We walk in, and this jet comes in. It's got Beck's on the side of it. It's probably I think they said it's probably about a $20 million jet.
Damn.
And it's me and Dad, and like it was 10 guys total. So it's 10 farmers, me, Dad, and several other local guys. Thankfully, all of us like each other that was on this trip.
Wasn't anybody that's tried to rent ground up?
No, all of us G-Haul real well. So, man, we get on this jet. The thing is badass, like wood grain inside, and the seats, man, you can move them seats all over the place. And
you felt like you were in like Wolf of Wall Street.
I did. I was.
They're a real Christian, openly Christian.
Yeah, there was no naked women on this plane.
Or any cocaine.
No. I kept waiting for a naked woman to come out of the little bathroom thing, but she never did. But yes, so man, it took us. Hell, it was like an hour, 45-minute to hour flight from here to Indiana, and man, you land. There's this big, huge Beck's hangar. You land at the airstrip. There's this Beck's hangar. There was another Beck's jet, and then there was this Beck's Falcon, is what it was. And it's like I don't know. It was huge. It would hold 27 people or something. It was a jet.
Yeah.
Or I guess what classifies one as a jet and like a plane. Like when do they cross?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like whether or not that prop on the front or what.
Yeah. Well, this thing was even bigger. One of the guys with us, he looked it up. He said there were like $36 million or something a piece. And they had their guy come out and like the tour guide, and he said they have, I think, two or three of those Falcons. So these are $36 million planes.
Good Lord.
And then he said the ones we flew on, they got like 3 or 4 of those. And they got a helicopter because he said they'll actually bring guys in and put them on helicopters because they'll fly those over the crops like during the growing season.
Yeah.
And they can show you stuff. So, I mean, they had like 7 or 8 airplanes and helicopters all together. I mean, this huge badass hangar. So then we get on this tour bus thing and they drive us about 30 minutes to their headquarters. Their headquarters is on like a couple hundred acres. It's oh man, I just an ungodly spread of like buildings and stuff, and like all across here. And then on the other side of the road, they got like a research lab, greenhouses, and they had the cool thing was they have obviously innovated and built new buildings and warehouses over the years. But the building, like the house that Sonny Beck is the guy that owns it now. His dad and grandfather actually started the company. The house he grew up in is still right in the center. It's this old white house, and they've built everything around it, and they've kept the little old house. And they said actually one of like the engineers, he lives in it now. Yeah. And then there's another like old house over there. Like they're all there. They got 1,000 employees now, so they employ over 1,000 people, and they got location in Nebraska, Kansas. They're building one right now in New Madrid. Which is right, in Missouri?
Yeah, just not far from us at all, yeah.
Yep, they're building, that's going to be like one of their distribution centers. And but man, I was really impressed because, again, they're family owned. And, I mean, they never told us, like, the net worth of this business. Seeing what they got, what they own and all that. They are absolutely like something in the billions. They're $1 billion business by far. And man, we've been doing the tour, and they were showing us where they package them, where they greenhouse and do all this, how they create new hybrids, which was really fascinating. And we come down the stairs, and hell, there's Sonny Beck. He's standing down there at the bottom of the steps, and he's like, "What's going on, fellas?" And like, I mean, he's 80. I think he said he's 83 or 84, and he's like shaking all our hands. And man, they got a cafeteria down here, and they serve us lunch. We go into this room, and Sonny comes in there, and he's like, any questions you got for me, man? I'd love to hear them. And I mean, how many like $1 billion corporations? I mean, they're family owned, but I mean, at this point, they're a corporation. But like, how many $1 billion companies can you like walk into and you meet the head honcho?
Yeah, probably not many.
Yeah, I mean, and that was really cool. Like, all of us were pretty impressed with the fact that like this dude, and he talked to us, and there was another tour going on right after us, and he was like, after I talked to you guys, he said, I'm gonna go catch this other group. Like, that's what they said he goes. They were like, man, he talks to like everybody.
Yeah.
So it was cool, man. We were there several hours. They fed us, gave us these bags, like Carhartt bags with hats and all kinds of books and stuff in there. And yeah, I mean, we were very impressed.
Yeah. It sounds like, the kind of trip. Yeah, you don't get to just flying on a private jet anywhere. That's pretty damn sweet.
Oh, dude, that's the whole time I was like, damn, man, if I could ever get rich, I'd have me one of these things. Because the NFR is obviously going on right now. And me and Hoyt and Ethan Hodge, we were like, hey, can y'all swing this thing over to Vegas? Let's drop us off at the NFR. We want to go catch the NFR tonight. Y'all can just pick us up, right afterwards. So I mean, and that's, dude, it's crazy. Like, on the rewards thing, he was talking about how he said it was a gimmick. Like, he said, that began like, how can we compete against some of these big companies? He said, so we were like, well, we'll just start giving some rewards. And they started with side-by-sides, like the old Gators. Because this company, they started Beck's like in 1937. Sonny's grandfather and dad started it. His grandfather died like the second year. So then his dad was in it. And then Sonny, when he graduated, all of them are diehard Purdue. They all go to Purdue. Even our tour guide and the people that work there. I gave some of them shit. I was like, man, I don't think y'all like Purdue very much around here. And the tour guide was like, what are you trying to say? And I was like, nothing. Y'all are just all about some Purdue around here.
They just got them a new football coach.
Oh, really?
Well, I think they only won one game this year. So.
Yeah. They needed a new football coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was thoroughly impressed by it. And, I'll tell you, they showed us this thing, and it was actually their old, like, this has been their core business model. And it was this pyramid. And I can't remember, at the top, it's like, help farmers succeed. And it sounds cheesy, but man, I'm going to tell you, a lot of their stuff, like, it makes you think, like, this definitely would help. But you go down the pyramid, and they have different things. And the bottom, like the actual foundation of the pyramid, on one, it was help others, and then the other one was honor God. Like, they're extremely outspoken about their faith.
Yeah.
They're conservative. Like I think you could easily fly to the Beck's headquarters during the month of June, and you might see an American flag flying, but you ain't gonna see no pride flag flying at Beck's headquarters. So, they're a company that is still very much in tune with like their actual buyers and the people that use their company. Yeah.
No, it's really good to hear, which I was fairly familiar with them. I think, Sharky had some of, it'd probably be Sonny's grandsons. I think you were saying, we're all on his podcast just recently, and they sponsor his podcast. So I've heard him talk about them a lot, but I think I do have one of their hats that my wife picked up at a trade show.
Yeah.
At one point, but
I got two of their hats now. And I picked on like Sonny's granddaughter or something, because she was one that had a Purdue shirt on, and I was like, y'all don't like Purdue very much around here, do you? She was like, what do you mean? And I said, I get the impression y'all ain't very big Purdue fans.
Sharky gave him a hard time about that too.
Yeah.
It's like that every 5 minutes there would be a Purdue reference.
Oh yeah, and every one of them that works there, like even like I said, our tour guide.
Well, I mean that's the ag school in the state. So yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, the tour guide. He was not part of the family, but he was like, I graduated from Purdue. What are you trying to say? Like, which he was joking. He was funny. We would cut up, but yeah, I was thoroughly impressed, man. Like, me and Dad were talking on the ride home. We were like, damn, we should have been in the seed business. Shit, man. They got all these freaking jets. And
yes, that's the problem. It wouldn't be until like your grandkids.
Yes. Yeah, because they
By the
talk.
time you got that well established.
Yes, like they're.
And you think how many of those companies
don't make it.
Haven't made it that far.
Yeah.
Which is, of course, a testament to, I guess, their products and their service. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, man. They showed a chart of their growth, and I mean they've grown every year, but I think it was like maybe 1993 when they really started to like take off. So you think that's damn near 60 years. Yeah. I mean they had grown every year, but the big growth started in the early 90s for them. So, I mean, yeah, like if I were to be like, man, I want to get rich now, I'm going to start a seed company. It's like, no, my kids and my kids and grandkids will be the ones that might get to enjoy the fruits of the labor.
Yeah.
So, but it was really cool, man. The jet, I don't know anything about jets. I can't tell y'all what kind it was. I know they did have 2 or 3 Falcons. If you know anything about those, I mean, they were slick, man. Yeah, we felt like some absolute ballers there yesterday.
Yeah.
So
good deal.
Any cattle companies flown you around?
No, I've gotten to go just in the veterinary world on a couple of cool, like just fishing trips and stuff like that. But we weren't flying private.
Really?
we were. Yeah, you go to the airport and get on a.
They didn't have 7 jets for you?
American Airlines flight, and I've been with some big Purina. I think maybe been the last one I went on. That's a big company.
Yeah, that is.
It was just a few of us went down to Louisiana and went fishing.
Redfish.
What were we fishing? We caught mostly trout. Some of the crews were, because there was 15 or so of us down there. And,
Gotcha.
6 or 7 different groups. But yeah, that sort of thing. But yeah, no private jets.
Yeah, that was my first experience on one. I hope it's not my last. I'd like to go on another one. Yeah. Oh, that's what I told them when we were flying. I'm like, dude, imagine like flying in Trump's plane. Like after being on this thing, I'm like, imagine being on his freaking, because his is like bigger than a 747 or something. Got a table. I'm pretty sure there's a McDonald's inside his airplane. Like, like his is bad. His badass plane. But yeah, it was cool, man. But again, it just kind of goes. One of the coolest things to me was how they create the hybrids, because they had these in the greenhouse. I mean, when we got there, it was like 29 degrees, and it actually was snowing on us when we left, because they were kind of like, we got to get you guys out of here, because it was like 11 degrees, going to be 11 degrees that night. The next morning, it was a wind chill of -9 there. So they kind of were like, because we asked the tour guide, we're like, is this supposed to snow here? And he said, yeah, we're hoping to get y'all's ass out of here before that happens. And we said, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. We don't want to be stuck here. And he said, no, I can assure you, you don't. There's nothing to do around here. He was like, there ain't nothing to do in Indiana. But so I mean, it was just, man, it was really cool. Like we had a hell of a time, and I'm gonna try some of the seed. That's what they do. A lot of cool things. I guess what I was gonna say, we have had a price breakdown of their grain, like versus what we use, and they're not higher. So that's where it's like, okay, you can't because the rewards thing, like I said, people are like, well, they just charge you more, but they actually don't. So, which the Sonny Beck dude, I mean, or one of the guys up there, he was like, the way they get this stuff, see, Beck's is the largest Case H purchaser in the country. They're the largest Wilson hopper bottom purchaser, and I think they might be the largest GMC and Ford purchaser of heavy duty trucks, of like 3/4 ton and 1 ton trucks. I think they may be the largest purchaser of those. So they said the thing they can do is like by us buying so many, we can get them at a really good price. Because he said we go buy 1,000 trucks. He said they knock off the price a lot. And I mean, they do some cool stuff, man. Like you earn these points with how many you spend, how much you spend to buy your seed. And you can opt out of your rewards, and they got like this thing where they got condos in the Cayman Islands. They were like the Falcon jets is for flying the farmers to the Cayman Islands. He was like, we got condos down there for the farmers.
Yeah.
so at Marcy, she was like, you need to get us one of those. And I said, I don't know even if I spent every bit of my money in seed in Beck's, I don't think that I would qualify.
Probably don't qualify for those.
No. So I could get probably like a 2-wheeler or something, with my purchases.
Yeah, maybe a jacket.
A jacket, yeah, like a jacket that's like one of those cheap, thin, like not Champion, whatever it is they sell at Walmart.
I don't know, like one of the little thin, like FBI.
Yes, yeah.
Blue jackets, it just says Beck's on it.
Beck's, yeah. No, but no, I was really impressed, man. I am. I mean, hey, look, I'm a very loyal guy to my rep that I deal with all the time, but competition, I've learned, is actually good because it makes everything better. I mean, it's made other people, hell, as bad as the ag economy is right now, we need the prices to kind of tighten up on the costs.
Yeah.
So competition helps that. It's like if you were in a town where there's only one seed dealer, hell,
they can charge whatever they want.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what comes from it.
Yeah. Which that kind of on that kind of last point or subject.
You were telling me about something I don't know that I've heard about.
There is and I'll just read kind of the headline of this article. And I've been hearing a little about it for the last week or two. Said, while it's unclear how Congress will push through the Farm Assistance and Revenue Mitigation Act, it's likely going to be via the continuing resolution. And depending on how payments are calculated, farmers could receive $101 per acre for corn, $53 for soybeans, and $73 for wheat.
All right, they increased it.
Well, and it hasn't been done yet, and that's kind of what the article was about. And they had quoted Senator John Boozman from Arkansas, who's the ranking member of the Senate Ag Committee. They're trying to get this pushed through to kind of help, because like I've been saying, it was a rough year for row crop farmers. And I guess.
When was that?
That article.
Is it very recent?
Yeah, it was dated, a week ago.
Okay,
December 5th, yeah.
Because we've all been wondering about this thing, and look, I've bitched about payments before, but you know what, man? As much as our plows got clean this year, I'm like, hey, if we ever need them, and I'll tell you one other thing, and not to hijack that, but like, if we're gonna send $24 billion to Ukraine, then by God, I'm like, hey, help us out a little bit over here.
Yeah, help out the people in North Carolina that are in East Tennessee that are still sleeping in tents. But,
yes.
But yeah, and I had seen some other people make this point too. It's, because generally, we're anti-government, bailing people out, the subsidies and everything else. And it's just, and it does sound good on the surface. Like, I mean, I know, like you were saying, man, paying bills this year. I mean, we didn't break even.
No.
We lost money. That $53 an acre on soybeans, $101 an acre on corn will really help us, pull our way out of this and get ready to go again next year. But, at what point does that quit working? And that's not the solution to the actual problem. Like, that is a problem, but it's not the problem. And I think the problem is
we produce too much.
Right. Our markets aren't any good right now.
Yeah.
We're whether it's because we don't have the exports, that we need or domestic use or whatever, compared to our input cost. And it's, whether it's equipment, seed, chemical fertilizer, and, it is kind of ridiculous, what equipment costs are now, which John Deere's had layoffs. I mean, obviously this ag economy is affecting more than just the farmer. Cargill had 8,000 layoffs.
Yeah.
But I just still feel like ultimately we still need a reset on the system. And of course, we hope that with the new administration coming in, that they're going to try to fix some of that, whether it's, we get our markets back where, you're selling $13, $14 soybeans and $8 corn.
Yeah.
And so, okay, it's all right that a brand new John Deere combine costs over $1 million. Or, the opposite needs to be true. It's like, no, like our demand is just, our exports are what they are. We've got to figure out a way to bring some of these other costs back down to earth.
If they could get it where,
but the competition to try to, I don't know, and I'm not going to pretend to be smart enough to understand all the economics of it, or what's more likely to happen, or markets. I would say cost of equipment and everything is not likely to significantly come down. I mean,
that's what I was going to say.
Maybe on the used equipment side of things, but and we've had that conversation. That's not great, because if all of a sudden the used equipment prices, tank, well then obviously you've got a lot of equity tied up in your equipment that's all of a sudden worth a whole lot less.
Yep. It makes them balance sheets look pretty crappy all of a sudden. Probably the answer that makes everybody a lot happier is markets just go way up and everything's worth more, and obviously we've been dealing with inflation, but our commodity prices and whatnot inflate with the rest of just keep up with inflation. And so I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel like, I'm happy for folks that, it may be the only way that keeps their head above the water. But, does it really end up helping the farmer in the long run? Or because I feel like, no, that money, it's going to bail some guys out, but they're not getting that money. They're getting it just so they can give it to the bank. Pass it along.
So they can, pay off their notes and ultimately the equipment dealers and manufacturers and seed and chemical companies. I guess that's how you buy a lot of jets. The government keeps bailing out your customers, and so you
just keep buying more.
Not take a shot at Beck's, but I mean, it's all those companies where say, they're ultimately the ones that probably benefit the most from these type of things.
Yeah, man. We've talked about that before on, man, how do we, what do we do? How do we change things moving forward? And that's where I don't know. I mean, unless we suddenly can create, a new market for the stuff.
Demand somehow increases.
Yeah. Because otherwise I don't see it. And when we were in Indiana, this older guy was actually we went to we were inside one of their facilities, and they got like a little country store, and a couple of older guys wanted to go because their grandsons, they wanted to get them some stuff for Christmas. They had some toys. And so they went in there, and this older guy came up to me and was like, "Where are y'all from?" And I said, "Oh, we're out of West Tennessee." And he was like, "Oh, I got you. And we were talking, and he was asking me, he was like, "Man, I had a terrible year this year." And I said, "Well, that makes two of us." And he said, "My beans cut about 30 across the board." He said, "We didn't get hardly any rain in the month of August or June." And I said, "Well, I'm the same way here." And I said, "It was terrible." And he goes, "What do you think about next year? You think it's going to be any better?" I said, "Man, I hate to sound like a negative Nancy." I said, "But I don't think it's going to be any better." I said, "Because Brazil is in the picture." And I said, "And that's the thing that's different." The big thing, I try to be a very optimistic guy, but I'm having a hard time finding much optimism right now because there's a new player in the game. I mean, in years past, farming has ebbs and lows. It always does that, highs and lows. But we haven't had a big player like Brazil in the picture. And so that's what's had me worried. And I mean, I've been talking to guys, one about the farm bill. People are like, "Man, what do you think? You think it's going to happen?" I'm like, at this point, I don't know. I don't know if it will or not. And our government is in such a, they hate each other on such extreme sides that they'll do something just out of spite to the other. And so I'm like, I think they're going to keep it in limbo. And so I don't know, man. And I, I'll tell you this, so I met with my lender. I will be farming next year for sure, thankfully. But we were talking, and I asked him, I said, man, how is it? And he said, it's bad. He said, it's really bad. He said, he said, and several other guys, he said, y'all had equity. And I'm going to tell you, I've urged people to buy land. You know, I've always been like an advocate, buy land, buy land, buy land. At this point, I don't know that you can financially make it or make sense unless you can just nab some good deal. But if you're having to overstretch, because the land it hurts me and it helps me. I am very strapped because of my land payments. Like, my land payments have me pretty confined on some of my spending. Like, it makes my overall cost a lot higher just paying land notes. On that same note, when you have bad years, because I own land, I have equity. I got land that's there is no asset more valuable. And so I've got very valuable assets. Guys, in this year, like talking to my lender, this year there's guys that are going to find themselves in very bad positions, and they may not own any land, and they own some equipment. Equipment prices are down.
Yeah.
So your equity is going to be damn near, the land is what, look, I'm not going to share my numbers, but I will tell you that on paper, even with this year, I'm very strong. Like, just because of the land that I own. Yep. And I bought them at a good time as well. Like, I bought them before they got stupid on the prices, but
yeah, your land's worth more than you paid for it. So
yes,
even if you hadn't paid down the note a whole lot, you've still got some equity there.
Yes. And that's the thing. Like, I'll tell you, with not all banks do this, but a lot of your ag lenders, they actually go by, if you buy a farm, let's say you buy a farm for $300,000, it appraises for $600,000. You finance $300,000, you buy it for $300,000, but it appraises for $600,000. In the eyes of the ag lender, you have $300,000 in equity.
Yeah.
A lot of banks don't do that. Like, I know some guys that they've done financing through banks. Banks look at whatever you actually financed is the amount. So, like, if you financed it for $300,000, you got no equity until you've paid some notes on it. And hell, as with the way interest rates stuff are, in 2 years' time, you might have $10,000 in equity on that farm. So the ag lenders, they look at the appraisal amount. So it's a good time to own land. It's a bad time to be buying land. But I don't know, man. I'm definitely going to lean into the farm store pretty hard. And I'm going to diversify a little further into the cattle side. Yeah. Not going to go as deep in like as y'all. I think I would find my iron in too many fires if I tried to go that big into it. But, if maybe I don't know. But I'm definitely looking. Hell, I had a nice little bull born out here the other day.
Yeah, I saw you posted that. I don't know. The just kind of looking at it with, again, a very elementary level, economic total understanding and just the overall market here in the U.S. Obviously, I could say we're growing more than we need to. Supply is exceeding demand. That's why our prices are down. We're constantly, increasing our average yield. Through these awesome hybrids like Beck's makes and advances in chemical use, fertilizers, everything else. And so my initial thought is, okay, well, we need to grow less acres. We need to take those marginal acres that maybe we shouldn't have ever been farming to begin with, put them back into grass for pasture. Diversify, maybe, start growing some other specialty crop, alfalfa hay, to feed the horse market, or, just something, to get it out of those, just corn, soybeans, cotton, wheat, whatever, corn, and just, but I don't know, how feasible that is. And obviously you get to a point where, okay, well, like I said, the alfalfa market, well, it gets oversaturated, you get to a point, but, is it grazing, more acres, with cattle. I don't know right now because our cow herd has shrunk down and cattle market's actually really good. Yeah, you're like, well, we need more cattle. We need to expand the national cow herd. So if we pulled, I don't know, 10% of the acres that are currently dedicated to corn and soybeans and put that back into pasture, again, especially on some of these acres that probably shouldn't be farmed anyway.
Yeah.
That maybe that's an answer, and it's probably, there's more than one answer. We pulled just a few acres out there for that.
Do you think we could? The demand for cattle and beef is so high. Do you think if they took, is there a bad chance of it becoming oversaturated?
Oh, it could, yeah, at some point.
I know it could, but do you think, realistically that it would?
And we rely a lot on exports. One of the biggest things, that's helped, cattle markets as well as, I guess, other proteins too is, Asia. Obviously, there's an enormous number of people there. And as that, their economies have improved over the last few generations. I forget, I've heard different people talk about, they didn't get to eat a lot of meat because that's more expensive.
Yeah.
And, they went from where, something they really got to eat like on a special occasion, whereas we eat a prime rib on a special occasion. They were just getting meat.
Yeah.
And then it got to where, okay, they had meat weekly and now it's part of their daily diet. In my opinion, it should be for everybody.
Yeah.
Heck, I'm eating some form of meat at every meal.
Oh shit, I am too. Yeah.
We don't have meatless Mondays around here.
No.
But, and so that has helped. And so the demand for beef and pork, especially, and I mean, chicken too, and a lot of the Asian markets has gone way up. And so that's where you do need the whole global economy to be doing well.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's more and more people, all the time. And so, that's why I tell everybody eat beef and God bless.
That's honestly why the Asian, I don't say this being funny, but it's why the Asian culture in general is small.
Yeah.
Is due to the lack of protein. And and red meat, especially, you get protein. And I just shared a thing today about creatine. I'm a diehard believer in creatine. I supplement creatine, but red meat is a great produced, you get a ton of creatine out of a steak or a cheeseburger. I still supplement, but creatine is great for your brain health. So now the Asians are pretty damn smart, but I bet you with this increase in meat, I wouldn't be shocked if you don't see them actually start to get bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I know that's been a big factor.
That's why we get such big wieners over here, because we eat so much meat.
Yeah. I don't know. I eat a lot of meat. But maybe that's driving my desire, and I don't even realize it.
Yes. No, if meat correlated, if eating a lot of meat correlated to a big wiener, mine would be tucked in my sock right now, and it is certainly not.
Well, that's a little chilly out here tonight.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's cold. Yeah, that's what I'll chalk it up to.
But yeah, that's a big thing, and obviously we need other. You'd love to see some of these poorer countries that aren't able to rely on, have meat on the table on a regular basis, to help increase that demand for U.S.
How much do we import from Mexico? How much beef?
Cattle, well, we talked about, I don't know about just beef, but, when we were talking about the screwworm, we had some of those figures. I don't have them right in front of me right now as far as how many millions of head of cattle we import, because most of the cattle fed in the Southern Plains, like in Texas, a lot of those come out of Mexico.
Yeah. Well, that's what I just wonder, what percentage of ground would you have to take out of row crop, put back into cattle to make it where we actually could sustain our own need of beef?
Yeah. And I don't know, we do import some beef, which it's tricky there because we need to export too. And so I guess, with our trade partners, because there's a lot of the byproducts we don't eat. We don't eat a lot of the organ meat, and in a lot of places, a lot of those products are delicacies, the tongue and the liver, the kidney, and, whatever, all the
sphincter,
all those sorts of things. So yeah, we need those markets because those aren't the high value cuts, but that little bit, a lot of times might be the margin where you're making a little bit of money. So yeah, I don't know what our national cow herd needs. What's the ideal level where it's, we're we're not growing too much, but we're meeting all our needs. Because prices right now. Well, I mean, I'm looking at it too because traditionally we buy a bunch of calves in the spring. And man, right now,
bad time to be buying, ain't it?
Well, they're higher than Hunter Biden. I mean, it's up there. You see these quotes every week, and I hear them every morning from Corbett. It's like, man, how are those cattle going to pencil out?
Yeah.
They better be able to put some cheap gains on them.
Well, I've been row cropping. This was my 10th year. I was like, I kept thinking, this is a hell of a 10th year. I've learned a lot. You lose. I think you learn more on a loss than you learn on a win. I've always heard that.
Oh, well, yeah, I think that's true in any industry. Yeah. Like I said, when things are going great, you don't even have to be that careful about what you do.
Yeah. A bad year exposes the chinks in the armor. It's kind of
and you mentioned that little video Sharky did where he's like, this is necessity is the motherhood of invention or whatever. I may have butchered that quote, but yeah.
No, that's just right.
Because when things are tough, that's when you got to be innovative. Like, all right, I gotta find some little way to get that just a little bit of extra yield or find a little bit of better way to market. Just because that's when it all matters so much. But
I forgot how. I mean, and I got my cows over here that I take care of, but that calf was born, and I hadn't had a calf in a little while. That's my first calf, since these over here, these are, I don't know what them 500 pounds now or something over here. But that calf was born, and so I got my little ear tagger and went out there, and man, I just tagging his ear, and he was a little bull. I wish he would have been a heifer, but I was like, hell, it's a bull. It is. I'll eventually feed him out, and unless he just makes one hell of a, he grows into be some badass bull, and I'm like, hey, that'll be a breeder. But like, man, I just sat out there, and hell, I just watched him for a little bit. This morning, he was, because she hid him. She had him hidden. I couldn't find him yesterday.
Yeah, some will do that and drive you crazy.
It does, because I tagged him, and he was not quite up walking around yet. And she was pretty cool. Like, she just stood there. I went over there and tagged him. She was the child of one of my bottle calves. Yeah. And so she's a good cow, got good milk. But my dad yesterday, after I tagged him, he came in, we went and ate at their house last night, and he said, I don't know where your little calf is. And I said, well, he was with his mom. I tagged him on the ear, and he said, I ain't seen him. So hell, when we got home last night, it was about 9 o'clock. I jumped on the side-by-side, and I rode everywhere looking for the little shit. I could not find him. I found her. Hell, he was nowhere to be found. And I looked everywhere. So first thing this morning about, I don't know, it's probably 6:30, I just looked out the window because I had already told Marcy, I said, as soon as the kids are gone, I said, I'm going to go out there and try to find our calf. Hell, I look out the window, and there's no cows except for her and him. And he's bucking and jumping and having the time of his life and getting some milk and jumping around. And man, as much as I love row cropping, but it's still just something like we've talked about. Like the cattle thing is just, I don't know. It's just cool.
Yeah.
It is.
And like when they had a calf like that, you just got to tell yourself, like, she knows what she's doing, and what always in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, what if it fell off in a hole somewhere?
Yeah.
And I've had them get in the pond and drown, which
I went and looked in some, them mud holes that are real deep over there. That was one of the first places I drove to.
I always say, dead is dead. It doesn't, if it's dead somewhere, but I'm always worried, like maybe it's just in a bad situation.
It ain't dead yet.
Yeah, and I can get it out. But so what are you planning on doing with the cattle? Saying getting a little deeper in there.
I'm probably going to go into just feeding them out.
Okay. Yeah. If you had, that's an easy way because but you're not taking a lot of acres to do that, which is good and bad.
That's good because up there where we're building, there's 17-acre pasture right there. It's 17 acres row crop right now, but I'm gonna put it in pasture, and I figured 17 acres I could run 8 to 10 head.
Yeah. Well, and if you're feeding them out, which obviously you they're on grass most of their life. But yeah, if you take a few head like that, and you got the grass to just graze them through the summer, and then you don't need a big elaborate setup to feed out just a few head like that. That's how many I feed out. I got 9.
Yeah,
and just covered area with some feed bunks, and maybe a little concrete, but you don't have to have. I never had concrete till last year.
I still find myself going back to just, I don't know. And it's something I'm going to look into, but I still find myself intrigued by the whole Wagyu thing. And I found a guy that breeds them. He's in Jackson, Tennessee, and he's got purebred. It's hard to find purebred Wagyu. Like a lot of them are, I don't remember what the percentage is. And it's still a little higher cut meat. But there's a part of me that feels like, man, we're close enough to Memphis that I feel like I could tap into that Wagyu market.
And I mean, and too, that's a way to get rid of some of your corn.
Yeah,
you're walking it.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, man, I could.
And that ain't a lot of corn. I mean, I don't even know how many bushels I buy every year from.
Well, and
your dad. I mean, it's just
that whole farm over there where we built. It's not the most productive ground. Like now, the big part of it, it's fairly flat. Like it's not bad ground to harvest. But, if it cuts 50, it's doing pretty good. Like, that's a pretty good year. So.
You mean 50 bushel corn?
50, no, if it cuts 50 bushel corn, then my shit gets smoked.
Every inch of it in pasture.
Yes. But I have thought, I'm like, man, if I really find myself enjoying that, I wouldn't be opposed to fencing it in and running. Because, I mean, on that 60-acre block, that plus that 17-acre, I could run a pretty good bit of cattle on that.
Yeah, I mean, I just feed out once a year. If you really wanted to dedicate the time and the energy into marketing them, I mean, you could feed out, year round, and have, you could feed out.
Well, I think I don't have much of a choice. Yeah. Like the way row cropping's going, I don't have a lot of choice.
It's not there's not huge margins in it. I mean,
if it's any positive margin in it, it's better than what I'm looking at.
You had a setup, where you could feed out 8 head at a time.
Yeah.
And you did that 3 times a year. That's 24 head.
And say I use my own grain, like I got my own corn.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you don't need just a huge amount of storage for that.
Yeah. What could you make on 8 head?
Man,
Wagyu, let's just say standard commercial.
I really need to put the pencil to how much I have in them.
Yeah.
I can tell you, you'll gross. So let's say you have 800-pound carcasses, which is not ridiculous. We'll just say 750.
Yeah.
I'll be open right here. I sell mine, and I probably need to put the pencil to it because I probably need to charge a little more just because, Lord, things are a whole lot more expensive than they were 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Say you're selling them, well, we'll just go with $4 a pound on carcass weight.
Yeah. I
mean, you're grossing $3,000 a head.
Yeah.
And that's a lot, but I see that like 600-pound calves are bringing over $2,000 a head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got a lot of money in them between 600 pounds and 750-pound carcasses.
Well, my thing again, I'm notorious. I think I even said this with Anthony when we had him on. I'm notoriously a big dreamer. When I think, I'm like, man, I think of the stars. And there's a part of me that's like, hey, we get our feet wet in that. And again, I bitch about Memphis, but it also gives us some opportunities being as close to Memphis. Because I'm like, if you could produce some high-end steaks, like some Wagyu or something, or not even necessarily Wagyu, but just these are like your brand, whether it's Hurricane Creek Farms, LH Farms, or when they hear that name, if they read it in a menu, they open their menu and it's like this ribeye from Hurricane Creek Farms and stuff. Dude, then they're like, oh, that's a badass steak. Like they know it. So that's where I'm like, man, I got enough acres. I could run enough cattle to supply a steakhouse, not like not gonna say like the Logan's Roadhouse or something, but like a Majestic or something. I don't know, man.
Man, you'd have to have a lot because there aren't a lot of ribeyes in a carcass. I mean, there just aren't.
If you could do it on, I'm talking like 300 acres. You could probably do a good bit of that on there, couldn't you?
Yeah, and then though, like for a steakhouse, that's fine, but they're not going to buy.
All that ground.
Yeah, and the roast and all those other cuts. Of course, you can just have the roast ground up too, but they don't.
Yeah,
they're not selling that many cheeseburgers, so you got to have an outlet for that product too. I don't know. That's why I've always just, my customers buy a carcass or a half carcass from me, and
my plan,
they get to decide how they're going to use all those,
Yeah.
secondary cuts.
My plan long term is to go through the annoying process of getting the store established to where I can sell beef.
Yeah.
Like having the refrigeration in there where I can sell it. Because that's one of the things we've learned. You know, a lot of people write in that are really intrigued by the farm store. And this first year was really like learning what are some things we want to do differently and things we want to change. And, you know, I'll tell you, our biggest weapon was sauerkraut.
Yeah.
Sauerkraut was our biggest thing. Sweet corn is just sweet corn is just going to draw people in. But sauerkraut was a big thing. Tell you what I'm going to be doing over this winter. I'm going to be making beef tallow soap and candles and stuff like that. Like we need things that we can put on the shelf. Anyway, they have some shelf life so that people come in. Because look, I'll tell you guys, like something we learned, and this is just basic business, but I mean, we just learned it. We didn't really think about it. We had squash that came in before everything else. My wife put on our Facebook page, we got squash for sale. She put up pictures of the squash. It was beautiful squash. We had it coming out our ears. Nobody came to buy any squash. She went and opened up the store for several days. I think her aunt came and bought some squash. And we were like, damn. Well, the sauerkraut came in. It was ready. So we had jars of sauerkraut. The sauerkraut sold out. We sold 65 jars in like 2 days. Then we sold 109 jars in 3 days. Like a sauerkraut was sold like wildfire. But people would come in, they'd be like, I want the sauerkraut. And we had squash on the counter. And they'd say, hey, is that fresh squash? You'd be like, yeah. And they'd be like, yeah, give me 2 pounds of that squash. So hell, we would sell out of squash every day.
Yeah.
Just because it was there, it was available. And I mean, the more array of things we had, whether it was squash, pickled okra, salsa, sweet corn, man, a guy would come in and he would intend to spend $20 and he'd spend 80.
Yeah.
And well, so that's what we're thinking.
Thing, you know, yeah, because people, you know, they come into a specialty store like you got, they want to buy something specialty, which being locally raised does make it, all of it, a little bit special. But yeah, people aren't going to drive out of their way to buy,
squash.
A sack full of squash. You know, they'll pick it up at the store where they got to stop to get their, you know, their other groceries, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it'd be neat, talk to somebody like in the grocery store or any retail store business, how they, you know, hear different ones. I mean, like they sell some stuff like at cost or even at a loss, you know. And
just to get people in the door.
They run these big ass sales. You got to get people in the door, you know. Nathan's does it all the time. They have big meat sales.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, they can't be making any money on this bacon. Like they're giving it away.
Yeah.
But you don't ever go in there and just buy the bacon that's on sale.
Yeah.
I'm going to pick up 2 gallons of milk. I'm going to buy some fruit for the kids, you know. I'm going to, and before you know it, you got, you know, a 40-ounce pack of bacon for $8.
Yeah.
But, you spent, $125 before you got out the door.
Yeah, and that's what, you know, and just thinking outside the box. I mean, it's funny, this tallow stuff.
I cooked with a little this week.
Did you?
Yep.
I want to get with my plan ideally is to get with a butcher and get the fat that they would just basically discard. And then I'll render it myself because it's nothing to render. I mean, but a lot of guys, I've seen a lot of people, they actually just do it in like a crock pot or something. They just cook it down and then they strain out the little bit of meat chunks and stuff in there and they make tallow out of it. Dude, like tallow lotion. They use essential oil and beef tallow. They mix them together and sometimes they'll put like a coconut oil or something in there, maybe some shea butter or something. And they, put it all together, and then you heat it up and mix it up, and then when it's cooling down, they take a blender and they just blend it up, and it makes it almost looks like whipped topping or something, because when you're blending it up, it puts some air in there. And I'm not a lotion guy, but I know
I am this time of year.
I'll use
my hands are cracked and bleeding.
Oh, dude, yeah. What's that stuff? Calamine?
That's for like the. Like poison ivy.
Okay, what is starts with like a C?
I don't know.
Duke Cannon makes some. It's called like Bloody Knuckles, but it's got chamomile, I think. It's got a little bit in there. I'll put it on, like, my fingers will get bad right here, and yeah, my knuckles will crack. But I told Marcy, I said, we're going to start making, like, lotion, and I was bitching to Bobby Lee about my damn elbows earlier. We're going to make some beef tallow, like, icy hot. Like, using, because, man, I mean, people are into the natural stuff. And so I'm like, you got to capitalize on it, because if we don't, somebody else around here will.
Well, when you talk about just for like cooking in your oils, I hadn't done this in a while, but I used to, like every morning, I cook bacon almost every morning. I would save my bacon grease.
Yep, I do too.
I hadn't done it in a while, but yeah, I used to keep a little mason jar.
Yep. Marcy would give me shit about it. She'd be like, why do you keep that? And I'm like, it's because it's great for cooking.
Yeah, I would be something I needed to fry, and I'd be like, I want a little bacon grease to fry it in.
Yep.
And
I made hot wings in lard, I don't know, several weeks ago. I had never used it. I had to buy a bunch of them because the grocery stores, a lot of them don't carry.
But that's vegetable oil.
Lard? No, that's pig fat.
Well, I guess it depends on what kind of. Okay, you might.
Yeah, this was like.
I guess it's gotten where, like Crisco is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that is vegetable oil.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like people calling margarine butter.
Yeah.
They call it that, but it ain't.
Yeah, this was pig fat because honestly, it doesn't have a desirable smell.
Yeah.
Because when I was using it, I'm like, it doesn't smell very good.
Well, it's just not what you're used to, too.
No, but it tasted damn good.
Yeah.
The wings were great. Like, that's what I had looked. A lot of people were saying lard was great for hot wings.
Well, we would do almost all our frying either in the beef tallow.
Where do you get your tallow?
I ordered it. Like I'm sure probably through Amazon. Yeah, because you can't just go in the store and buy it.
No, that's why. Because I would have used tallow, but
I use that, or I buy my hippie butter. You call it?
Is that she butter?
No, ghee.
Oh, ghee. Okay.
Or I just use butter if I'm frying something like at a lower temperature.
You don't use your margarine?
I don't ever use.
You're
margarine.
not like Fabio.
We don't have any margarine, but if I'm cooking, the whole thing with ghee is because it's clarified butter, it doesn't smoke, or it has a lot higher smoke point.
Gotcha. So you ain't gonna burn it.
Right, like butter will burn at a much lower temperature. So for like searing a steak, you can sear a steak in ghee.
Okay.
But yeah, you get that skillet 600-700 degrees, you're gonna burn the shit out of butter.
What about is avocado oil still good? Because I use it on if I stir fry on the Blackstone.
I'm pretty sure it has a real high smoke point. Like
I know it does, but I wonder if is it like one of the condemned ones?
The anti-seed oil people like avocado oil is a good one.
Gotcha.
For for like our little spray oil, like if you need to spray something down, we buy avocado oil.
Yeah,
now. I'm a hippie. Yeah,
I use it if I cook. I hadn't done it in a while, but I would do stir fry on the Blackstone.
Yeah.
And I had the little squirt bottle, and it was avocado oil because it has a real high smoke point on it. But yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, I feel like we beat the drum constantly that people got to look outside the box. And I'm telling you, like, I'm a full-time row crop farmer. But if I want to continue row crop farming, I have got to do something besides row crop farming. Like I've got to think outside the box.
And then at some point you ask yourself, why do I want to keep row crop farming necessarily if I'm having to do all this other stuff to make a little money just so I can have the money to go out and break even row crop farming. Even within row crop farming, if you can find a niche within there, whether it's, I grow corn, but I don't sell it. I then feed it through my cattle.
Yep.
I mean, you could start feeding out some pigs too. I mean, you could endless, things you could do there to then turn it into a higher value product.
Yes.
Or finding other markets, I don't know, not necessarily, the organic thing's probably overdone, but you're growing, seed beans or just something to where you're in a little niche where you're capturing enough of a premium that maybe that's your margin.
At what point, this is something I've thought about. At what point do you, if you have to get this, I've thought about a lot here lately. I'm in the unique position that I do full-time farm. Like that's all I do. And so it's good in the fact that like, if I'm going to step off into the cattle thing, I can shift things around to where I can make my schedule work with the cattle thing. Where like, you've talked about this, your struggle is finding the time. Like if you wanted to expand your cattle operation, you would have a hard time, just in the sense that, I mean, you have a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
And so my full-time job is just farming. So, like, I've got the luxury there, but at the same time, like, I think about some guys that are in the row crop sector that they have full-time jobs so that they can row crop farm. And I find myself wondering, like, if you're having to work a full-time job just so that you can continue to row crop farm, but your full-time job is actually having to fund your row crop farming, like, at what point do you say, I don't think that this is a good idea? You know, like,
I struggle with that with the cattle. Like,
yeah.
Because, I mean, I work a full-time job. Then I go home and work almost a second full-time job in terms of the hours I put into it. And I'm like, man, you know, if it was all just about how many zeros were on my bank account or in my bank account,
You wouldn't do it.
Well, I could work the same amount of time I do at the vet clinic, you know, at our vet clinic, and I could go work a couple of emergency shifts a week at emergency clinic in Memphis. Or, I mean, heck, I could say, well, we're going to be open for an emergency shift, you know, here and there. And I'm just going to still work the same amount of hours a week total, but instead of working 40 hours a week in the clinic and 20 on the farm, I'm going to just work 60 hours a week. Oh, I would make a lot more money. I wouldn't be near as happy.
Yep.
Near as rewarding. And ultimately, the farm, it has allowed me to purchase land. You know, that land is getting me enough return. The farm makes enough money to kind of break even on that sort of stuff. And, you know, I'm accumulating wealth there.
Yes.
It's kind of the way I look at it. And, you know, which my brother and I, we talk about this all the time. We're like, well, that accumulating that wealth is great, but like, well, you got to sell the land eventually for that.
To make any money. Yes.
And so, I mean, it's like, am I ever going to do that? I mean, maybe I will. I had no plans of it, you know, but,
and you never know, like, you know, like I've said
maybe
before,
one day I wake up and I'm, you know, 70 years old, and I mean, my kids will be, you know, my age basically.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, y'all, I'm totally retiring and moving to the Cayman Islands. I'm selling all the farmland. Y'all can have it, you know, at market price, you know.
Yeah.
But if y'all want it, y'all don't have to buy it from me because I'm out. I'm totally out. I don't know.
Well, you know, to bring it all the way back around like that was you selling it to them. That makes me think, like, when Sonny was talking to us, Sonny Beck there, that was one of the things he said. He said his family, they're on like the 5th generation now that's coming work for Beck's. And he said that he doesn't let anyone come work for them immediately.
Yeah.
Like family or anything. And he told us this. He said, you cannot, just because you're family and you want to work for us, he said, that's great. He said, I want my family to work for me. He was like, I want my family here. He said, but I require them to go work for, he said, preferably 2 other people. He said, I want them to go have 2 other jobs before they come here. He said, one, so that they can see, like, well, you know, Grandpa ain't that bad of a boss. He's not that bad to work for. He said, I like them to go and work somewhere else. He said, and experience the real world. And he said, and when they come to work for me, he said, they got to interview just like everybody else does. And he said, and if they aren't the right person for the fit, he's like, we just don't hire them. So now, and I am like not naive enough to say, like, I'm sure they don't, you know, if his granddaughter comes and she's worked a couple other places and she interviews and she bombs interview, I'm certain they'll find a spot for her. But I still appreciate the fact that, like, they want her to go out and get some real world experience stuff before she comes back in. And so, you know, I don't know, man. I think, I just think business, a lot of guys don't approach farming with that business standpoint. I will tell you, like I said, what really opened my eyes this year was the loss. And when I was talking to a buddy, I won't mention any names, but a humongous farming operation relatively close to us. They're off a little ways. They're a massive, massive operation. They lost $10 million this year. That's because I asked him, I was like, man, how do these big guys, I said, did they lose money or what? I said, because if it's cleaning our plows, I was like, you guys, like, how do these guys not lose their ass? And they were like, oh, they do lose their ass. said, I just talked to so-and-so, and he said they lost $10 million. And I said, how do they live? How do they survive that much of a loss? And he said, well, they actually had the capital to cover a $10 million loss. I'm like, damn. So, I mean, that's bad. I mean, that's real bad.
Well, I don't know how many acres they work, but they're hoping for that $101 an acre.
You bet your ass they are.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they work a shit ton of acres, and they run a shit ton of livestock as well. I don't know, is there any cattle payment? Cattle was high.
No,
though,
not,
I guess,
not
yeah.
all this, no.
Yeah, cattle was pretty good.
The last money we got would have been like the coronavirus, programs or whatever back in 2020.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every now and then, if we get to a certain level of a drought, then we get like a D3, you get a little payment, to help, which that usually, in those situations, it's really is just helping offset some feed costs because you run out of grass. You don't have any hay because it was drought, so you're having to buy hay, that sort of thing.
Well, I'll tell you, I know some people that aren't in the ag world. They may hear like this Farm Act thing and be like, man, $53 an acre, $101 an acre. I can honestly tell you straight up, I don't care who any of the farmers are. If they're wanting that payment, it's going to literally go immediately to bills.
So, I know you don't have to share any of your exact numbers, but of course you just had soybeans this year. Do you think most people, lost $53 an acre this year? Is that a reasonable number that
I feel like?
Will that pull people to a break-even point for the most part?
No. I mean,
most people were more than $53 an acre in the hole.
I feel like about $100 an acre is probably more accurate
on soybeans.
Yeah. I don't know about corn for sure, but I would just guesstimate. I feel like you could probably say $100 an acre.
The average guy lost about $100 an acre.
The guys that the guys that broke even own land paid for.
Yeah, they didn't have a rent payment in there.
Yep. If they had, they might rent some ground, but they have acres that are paid for. Like that was when I've talked to, our insurance guy and different stuff. And I'm like, man, how are people surviving? And he was like, well, the people that are really, he's like, I'm not going to say they made any money. Cause he said, damn near nobody made any money. He said, but the guys that didn't necessarily lose any money, he said, they have land that is paid for.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, cause you think, man, I mean, hell, I own 300 acres. But I have to pay for mine, and mine's financed. If I had 300 acres not paid for, I mean, hell, just say $150 an acre rent on 300 acres. What is that?
Oh, goodness.
You're a better mathematician than I am.
What, 450,000? Oh, shit. What am I doing?
300 times 150.
Yeah, 45,000. Yeah.
$45,000. I mean, so like if you had that paid for, right there is $45,000 that you're not having to shell out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just on rent. Hell, if you bought it, if you're in my position, you bought it, you're paying way more than that to own it.
Right.
My land notes are significantly higher than that. So, I mean, there's some big guys around here. There are a couple of guys that are pretty big that they actually own more land than they rent. And a lot of their land is paid for. I mean, you get to that position, that's the kind of thing you think about, like wanting to build a legacy for your kids or your family. If you could get to where, like there's some farmers around here I can think of that they own, 4,000 acres of land that is actually paid for.
Yeah.
You know how you are strong as shit. Guys that are in that position, hell, they might have made money this year. If you got 4,000 acres of ground paid for, say you work 6,000 acres total, you rent 2,000 acres, but you got 4,000 acres of ground paid for, shit, you're a powerhouse at that point. I mean, and I don't know, man, that the long-term goal, we were talking about Becks, and I don't mean this to be like a Becks episode. Look, hey, I'm a hell of a man. I got some hell of a guys that listen. I ain't jumping ship on you dudes. But I am just talking about them because this is something I just got to experience.
Y'all need to come bring him your best deal.
Y'all need to pick me up in a jet in Millington and fly me to Mason.
Yeah.
Give me a tour of the facility.
You'll drive 20 minutes to the airport rather than 30 minutes to.
Yes. That's right. That's right.
That'd be a quick flight.
That would be a really quick
That's
flight.
where you need the helicopter. They could pick you up with the helicopter.
That'd be better. Yeah,
and,
that would be better.
Make the 5-minute helicopter ride.
Yes, but it's kind of the same thing with them. They started this company, and now it's this. I mean, they're a powerhouse in the seed industry, but it took them a long time to get there.
Yeah.
It's the same way with with farmers. Most of the guys that I know that are really well-off farmers today, they are that way because of their grandfathers or their father. The previous generations.
They had generational wealth.
Yes, the generations before them got the ball rolling. And, hell, my land equipment, assuming I live to be, 60, 70 years old, hope I do. Hey, hell, you never know these days. Assuming I make it to that age, my land will be paid for. And, hell, I hope I got more of it at that point than I do now. And so, that's when my kids if my son or daughter or whatever, if they want to farm, when they're my age, hell, they could be potentially stepping into, 300, 500, 1,000 acres of ground that's paid for. And so, but who knows what it even look like? What will the landscape even look like at that point? Will row cropping even be, who knows? It's no telling. But you gotta, farming is very much a marathon. It is not a sprint. Although watching the NFR, I'm still thinking we need to get into them bucking bulls.
Man.
Have you been watching?
Oh yeah, I watched. One night I just couldn't stay up. I was worn out. Yeah, tonight's one of the first nights I didn't watch. I watched it up to the second I left here.
Cooper James, he tore it up last night.
Tonight, probably the race I'm most interested in is the steer wrestling, just because
I love steer wrestling. That is a cool one.
I saw you post something. If you had rodeoed, you'd have been a steer wrestler.
That's what I'd like to have done.
You're way too big. I'm too big to have been any kind of a rough stock guy.
Yeah.
Which a bigger guy can rope too.
Where
the big guy has the advantage of steer wrestling. That's the big man's game.
Yeah. And it is. Most of them are big guys. They say.
Oh
that.
yeah. A tiny guy's at a real disadvantage. There's some smaller guys, but Will Loomis is, of all the guys competing, he's the most geographically local to us.
Where's he at?
I think he calls by Halia.
Okay.
Home.
Gotcha.
But he rodeoed at Martin.
Okay. Cool.
I think this year he might be the only UT Martin rodeo alum at the NFR. I'm trying to think.
I've been looking for Tennessee guys, but I don't know that I've seen any Tennesseans.
Yeah, he from Mississippi. I don't think there's anybody that calls Tennessee home. The most recent one would have been Chad Masters. He team roped.
It's been pretty cool to see old Josh Frost. He's been doing good in the bull ride, and it's just kind of cool because he's Lane's cousin.
Yeah.
He's number one. He was number one last night. I don't know about tonight.
Yeah, he's pretty far out in front, which I'm kind of pulling for him because he's finished second in the world maybe the last 3 years.
He got rooked pretty hard last night. He got like a 67 or something. Like his score was really low on the bull ride. He got a full ride, but
I say a lot of nights in bull riding, just as long as you cover, you'll get a check. Because some nights they don't have 6 guys, 15 of them competing. But Will is right there. He was number one in the average. I think after tonight he might have fallen to number 2, which the average pays like $86,000.
That'd be all right.
And so that goes a huge, because the world champion is just based off how much money you won all year.
Yeah.
So just 2 rounds left after tonight. I'm really pulling for Will. Will has been really close. He's finished second in the world at least once, maybe 2 or 3 times, and just been so close a couple of times. So I'd really. And he's towards the end of his career. They interviewed him the other night after he won to go around. He's like, man, he's like, I've been so close. And he came into the NFR like, I don't know, he's like 5th or 6th. So certainly within striking distance, obviously, because you can win so much money over 10 go arounds in average. But
my boy.
He was like, man, he's like, me and my wife had to talk about it. We're just here having fun, and and I was like, man, I really hope it,
he gets it. Yeah.
And I've never met him. I don't know him at all, but talking to people that know him, like, yeah, man, he's a good dude. Like he just is a good dude.
Well, my boy, old Tim, he's retired. I've been listening to him. I think he retired. I know he's not in NFR, but
yeah, he didn't ride all year because of injury. I didn't know if he was planning on trying to come back next year.
Well, hell, he might, but he
does the commentating for the bareback.
Yeah.
The shoot side, kind of the expert.
That's what. So my wife and I were talking about this, and because I feel like the people that watch, the bull riding is like which it's the last thing they show, and it's kind of like the star of the show. But that bareback,
it's just like the casual fans are just all about the bull riding.
They are, but I'm gonna tell you, the rope and shit is more impressive to me than anything. But I told my wife because we were watching the bull riding, and I was pointing out because she loves the movie 8 Seconds. And I was like, that's Josh. I said, he's cousins of Lane. And she was like, oh, that's awesome. Does he do the wave? And I'm like, I don't think he does the wave.
No, he's not that corny.
No, it's like, he's not that gay. But I said, but I'm going to tell you what I think is more brutal than the bull riding. And I said, it's the freaking dudes that bareback the Broncos. And she was like, no way. And I said, watch them. And dude, I think it was actually Rocker Steiner got up there. And I mean, just the freaking whiplash.
And he's been beat up this week, which those dudes are all, I mean, some of them are a little taller, but yeah.
Oh, it's like Tim had no tailbone. When I talk to him,
guys, they don't do it for a long time.
They can't, man. I held my neck.
I mean, and the bull riders the same too.
Yeah.
I mean, just the last two world champions didn't even compete this year because they're both out all year injured.
Yeah. Well, look at JB Mooney. Everybody, he's kind of hailed as like the greatest bull rider. When he walks, I mean, I don't mean this bad about him because he's he has made his name in bull riding, but like his back is like fused together. When he walks, he's straight up. Like if you watch how he walks, hell, I bet you that dude, he has to hurt every day.
Well, it's just, I mean, they get beat up. There will be a new world champion in the bull ride. None of the 15 guys in the NFR have ever won a world title. That's because, it's so rare for
somebody to make it.
Some of those guys, do win multiple world titles and whatnot, but it's just, there's so many injuries there that a lot of times Stetson Wright, Kai Hamilton both. Stetson's missed all year. I think Kai got hurt early on in the year, which he got beat up last year at the NFR, even though he won it.
Well, the steer wrestling, and then the one I don't know what they call it, but the roping where it's the single man and he ties the hooey,
calf roping or tie down roping. Yeah.
That one those two are my favorites.
Yeah, the calf roping. Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
That one is, man, because it just takes nothing to kill their time. Like if that calf just kicks his leg,
damn, the margin for error. Yeah.
Yep. Like that one.
Make sure they don't get a barrier. Yeah, when they gotta get the calf length right, and some of those calves, and sometimes it's not their fault. Like they say, the calf just won't take the tie.
Oh yeah, dude. There was a guy killing it last night, and right as he kicked him up, man, he was about doing the calf, just kicked his leg out, and I mean, just that he had to get his leg again. He lost like 2 seconds.
Oh yeah, and that's the difference between winning a $34,000 check and going home with nothing.
Yeah, them dudes want to just stomp the head of that damn calf.
I see a lot of them. Well, especially like a steer wrestling, they'll get up and they'll pick up a chunk of dirt and just throw it.
Well, right before we came on here, it was they were steer wrestling.
Yeah.
And I had it on, I was watching, and I don't remember the dude's name, but the calf just kept it one leg kind of planted, and he finally got it, but he wasn't in the money. And its leg was kind of up on his hat. And he took it and like shoved his leg off of it. Yeah. Like you could tell he was pissed off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, no, I'll be watching these next couple of nights. See who all the new world champions are.
Yep. I told my wife, I said, we're going next year.
I tell my wife that all the time, and again, I've said it on here a bunch. My wife, her birthday.
I was going to say,
last
week.
Her. I'm like, we're going to go to Vegas for the NFR. She's like, she just doesn't love Vegas. I'm like, we're not going to Vegas.
You're going to the NFR. You ain't going to Vegas.
Yeah. And so
you're going to the rodeo. The rodeo it takes over the town when it's there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Guys, if y'all are not watching, it's worth watching. Hell, I mean, you need to support them. That's like I even enjoy the commercials on the NFR. That's what I told my wife. I said, hell, I even like these commercials.
Yeah.
Like the Cowboy Channel's what I watch it on. I don't know.
I think that's the only way you can watch it.
Okay, I don't know if maybe RFD or somebody showed it, but
no, you got to have the Cowboy Channel. You got to buy the yearly subscription too. You can't just buy the 1 month.
Oh, really?
You get the NFR, yeah.
Well, if my
that's cool because so in January they'll have a lot of the big like indoor Texas rodeos.
Gotcha. Well,
Houston, the American,
I think
all those.
if you can't get Kalen to go and I can't get Marcy to go, then I think Talk Dirt to Me just needs to go to the damn NFR next year.
Oh yeah, we'll go.
All right, there you go. You guys heard it.
A lot of times there's a lot of good like cattle industry stuff going on out there because there's so many people.
Does Corbett he there? Does he go?
He was there.
Yeah.
I don't know that if he was there like in the official role, or I think he was there probably more just enjoying it, taking it in.
Yeah.
He was there for a couple of nights.
Nice. You want to cue him up? You got it.
The man.
Start off with 2 words. Made in America.
Made in America. All right. Let me go to my list, actually.
Let's say, because I don't think I got one offhand.
Let me see here.
I got a prowl. This holiday season, I'm always on the prowl. Prowl for some new Made in USA products.
Yep, I've got one, and it is an item that we have. Plenty of Made in America products.
A belt?
Yeah, a belt. A belt. Belts and anything to do with firearms. We've done a bunch of them. But Bullhide Belts.
I like the name.
I have one.
Does it have like the fur?
No, that's just the name.
Oh.
And I don't know if they got any like specialty ones. I do have kind of a Western one. Mine's kind of like that.
Yeah. Okay.
They've got all different,
I thought it might have the hide.
They got designer belts, exotic, like it's like an alligator one, just regular belts. They got the steel core. They got gun belts.
Nice.
You name it, they've got them. But yeah, Made
Bullhide Belts.
Spelled just like you would think. I don't know if you just buy direct from them or if, some retailers sell them. But, yeah, I mean, they're good looking belts. I love the one I've got. But yeah, Made in the USA.
Sweet. Well, y'all check them out. Bullhide Belts. And while you're checking them out, get on agzaga.com. I was looking on agzaga.com at some of their cattle facility type stuff the other day because I was like, well, if this is a arena I'm going to step off into, I need to first place I'm going to order from. It's going to be my buddies over at agzaga.com. And
it's because you're not going to pay full price.
I'm not going to pay full price. I was going to say, you know what? If I order from them, I'm going to use the code Talk Dirt, and it's going to be all caps, all one word, and I'm going to get 10% off because I'm not an idiot.
No, I mean, why would you want to pay full price?
That's right. So you guys go there, do that. Go to talkdirtpodcast.com. Submit your questions on there. Give us some more emails. We've talked to a few people. I asked a guy the other day, I was like, got any critiques for us? He said he had 2.
All right.
He said 1, get Joe Biden on the damn mixer board like you've been saying forever. And I said, yeah, we got to do that.
That would save me a little trouble.
Yes. He said, and 2nd, he said, I like the listener questions, man. He said, I'd love to hear some more of those. So guys, submit your questions on there. Again, there is no dumb question. If you got a question, you're like, I feel like they answered that question a while back, submit it anyways, because the agriculture world, as much as we may push back against change, it is an ever-evolving world. And so we'd love to hear your questions, comments, anything on there. Submit them to us. Oh, shit, that's what I want.
They got rattlesnake.
Rattlesnake. How much was that one?
About $350. And currently, it says extremely rare and hard to come by. But most of them are sold out. You got to pre-order it.
Oh, man.
They got other snake. They got cobra, anaconda.
Sure, they got python.
Viper.
I like the rattlesnake. That one's pretty cool.
Viper looks pretty cool.
They got any copperhead? I have never seen a copperhead skin anything. They got a cool pattern.
My dad skinned one time.
I killed 2, and I claimed that I was trying to tell myself I was going to save the skins and try to get boots or something made.
Cobra looks pretty cool.
What's the cobra look like?
Yeah, I'll say it looks pretry cool. I mean, it's just solid gray.
Oh, gotcha.
Tan.
Yeah, kind of rhinestone cowboy look there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, go check them out, and I guess we'll catch you next week.
I'm planning on being here.
Yep, we'll be having us a drink, Be back on here.
We might be at our new studio, right?
We may be at a new location next week. Yeah. Got to get see about getting it moved. So
all right, y'all. Yeah, that'll be our. Hey, we'll have to do our Christmas special next week. That'll be our last one before Christmas.
damn, will it really? Yeah,
because this one will drop on the 13th. Next one will drop on the 20th. The next one will be the 27th.
Dang, that came quick. Yeah, it will.
Well, and Christmas has kind of come quick, but I keep thinking it's next week.
Yeah.
I know it's the week after next.
Well, it almost is now.
I'm just checked out mentally at the office. And I'm like,
You're in holiday mode.
yeah.
Like your cat's like bleeding out on there, and you're like thinking about Christmas vacation.
No, I'm not like all my buddies that work more in the corporate world where like literally they take off from like December 20th through like January 5th. Like, oh yeah, nothing gets done in the business world these 2 weeks. I'm like, yeah, we're open every day except for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Yes.
And New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And used to we were open Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. It's just been the last couple of years we're like, we're gonna go ahead and take Christmas
a couple
Eve
of days
and Christmas Day. So
Yes.
the emergency center's open if anybody has a pet emergency.
There you go.
They're there for you. Otherwise, we'll be back on the 26th.
Don't ask me for Bobby Lee's cell phone number either, please. So, all right, guys.
And no offense to anybody out there, if you're calling and I don't have your number, you better leave me a voice message or send me a text because, I'm assuming you're a telemarketer usually. So.
Oh, and trust me, I've been asked for your number from a many of time.
Yeah.
Your number, Drew's number, and your dad's number. I have people ask me that quite often. I'm like,
Sounds like too many people have your number.
that's true. Maybe that's true. Somebody needs to stop giving my number out to some of these people. So, all right, guys, we'll catch you next week.